Welcome to Pluribus for the rest of us. Today we're talking about Pluribus, episode 4, titled Please, Carol. We did our instant take, or at least I did our instant take a few days ago, gave my immediate unfiltered reactions. Today it's going to be our full recap and analysis, and we have the whole crew here. Me, Gil, and I'm here with my brother Daniel. Say hello.
Hello, what's up?
And Adam, please say whatever you want, because you have agency.
Whatever I want because you have agency.
You always find a way. So I already gave my thoughts a couple days ago, right after the episode aired. I haven't talked to you guys about this show at all since then, so I'm dying to know. Please, Daniel, tell me what you thought of this episode.
Do you not know what I thought of the episode?
I assume you liked it.
Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was awesome.
What about you, Adam?
I agree. I'm getting impatient, but I remember feeling this way with Better Call Saul, and I was not disappointed. So I have no complaints. I can just feel my something like I need that something to really sink my teeth into.
Yeah, I want that next episode. I mean, every episode has left me dying for the next one, but this one especially. They even cut in the middle of a sentence, so they knew they had us. The nice thing is, they're giving us that next episode sooner than usual, thanks to Thanksgiving. What am I thankful for this year? I'm thankful that Pluribus is airing on Wednesday instead of Friday. And by Wednesday, I assume they mean Tuesday night.
Yeah, I was going to ask, is that what it means?
That's how Apple does things. And they won't tell us what they mean, but that's what I assume.
Well, how about a glass half empty perspective, which is you'll have to wait longer for the next one.
Yeah, that's true. Well, thank you, Adam. I appreciate that perspective. I can always count on you. Yeah, I also loved it. In case that wasn't clear, that we've been waiting for a big moment because the show's been, it's paced like a Vince Gilligan show where things are a little bit, they demand, I don't want to say it's slow. Some people got upset last week when Adam, not you, Adam, different Adam, he likes the show, but I guess doesn't like it enough because he said it's like a little slow and he's kind of waiting for the pacing to pick up. But I think even if you're enjoying the show, part of the enjoyment is the anticipation of something. And something happened this episode. It was very intense, and I loved it. And we're going to talk about it more when we get there. Any other overall thoughts before we jump into the recap?
I'm ready.
Well, I'm going to pull up your screen share, Adam, because we've enhanced these episodes so we can see images from it as we talk. I'll pull that up, and we start.
At that image.
This is beautiful. Yeah, I do enjoy the last couple of episodes have both started on a sort of strange, ambiguous image where you're not sure what you're looking at right away, which it just feels like another wink wink of Vince Gilligan and everyone involved in the show knowing that we're dying to see what happens next. So they're like, let's start on a blurry image, and then it slowly comes into focus. You figure out what you're staring at. But we're looking at a day in the life of Manousis. We haven't learned his name yet, but from the Insider podcast, from casting, we learned that's his name. This is the guy in Paraguay that Carol tried calling last episode. And how surprised were you guys that we start in his perspective? Because from that phone call where she tells him to go screw yourself, that could have been the last we ever heard of him. And now we're actually with him.
I was super excited because I was surprised, and then I thought, oh, okay, like maybe the show is going to broaden a little bit, right? Like we might start seeing his perspective more and more. Like we're not only going to see things through Carol's viewpoint. And I think that's exciting. Like it just opens up the show a lot more.
Yeah, I think that goes into a lot of why it's a surprise and why it's an exciting surprise. But what is he up to? So we're going to
wait. You didn't ask me if I was surprised.
Well,
yeah,
I figured
you didn't ask him.
I figured he would just jump in. I left that pregnant pause there.
I was not surprised at all because the thumbnail and description spoiled it for me.
Yeah, the thumbnail was Manousis.
It was a guy cutting open a storage unit.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think the synopsis also specified that we meet somebody on the other side of the world or something. It was very clear about what was coming.
I wonder who it could be. But yeah, I mean, with the second I saw this, I was like, oh, he's like a ham radio guy. And then it reminded me that one day I want to be a ham radio guy.
Well, this is pretty close to that.
Watching someone else do it.
No, talking
Oh,
into a
podcasting?
microphone and hearing someone talk back. And if you want, like on ham radio, don't people usually have like a signal, like a name they go by? Like this is
Yeah.
Big A, calling into Little D.
But Adam's lost some weight. Is Adam Little A now?
So Manusis. When Zojo is telling Carol about all the others who are out there, she mentions the guy in Paraguay and says that he manages a self storage facility. So we got a clue as to where he's hunkering down. And we kind of speculated that we picture him like a guy in a bunker, and that's essentially what we see. He's covered all of his windows with cardboard, and he's methodically going through radio frequencies. And this is Vince Gilligan's goodness right here. You watch him change the radio station, write down the number, start the timer. Okay, no good. Let's try the next one. Just process. Love to see it. So he's in a self storage facility. He runs out of food. He's so desperate. We see him. He hears some flies, and I think he takes that as an indication. Oh, that can I threw away. There must still be some food residue because it attracted flies. So he goes and starts licking the can. Then gets so desperate, actually, some of the others are coming to the gate. They drop off some food, and you can see it kind of pains him to do it, but he refuses it. He's basically being more Carol than Carol, refusing any kind of help, and we can see he desperately needs it because he's low on food. So what to do? Montage starts going through his customers' storage units, sees what he can find, and he finds some kind of energy gel or drink pouch of some kind, a packet of sugar, a little creamer, 3 cans of dog food, some tea, and I think a couple of pills. So he starts eating that stuff, including the dog food. And then we see those calls from Carol where he picks up, "Leave me alone, you bastards." Then she calls again, curses him out. And we speculated, when she starts cursing at him, that's a pretty strong indication that she's not part of the hive. And this shows us, yes, that is his interpretation of that call because we get some hopeful music. And then he writes down in a notebook, Carol is Turkish. Well, I was being kind of dumb because he writes Esturka. And if you Google that, Google Translate, it says is Turkish. But then I'm like, wait a minute. He's trying to write down her last name, Sturka. And he couldn't, he's certain of her first name, Carol. What was her last name? He wrote down what he heard. So that's what we get from this guy. Adam, unpack for me. I mean, this is nothing happened, right? 10 minutes of a guy just bumbling around a storage facility. What should we take from this opening?
Start with Daniel because I have to get up and blow my nose. I've been muting myself and sneezing like crazy.
I can hear it in your voice. All right, go ahead, Daniel.
But I can still hear you guys.
Well, first of all, it's so funny, right? Like he's doing all of this work to listen to each station, right? Theoretically, he's trying to find somebody who's not part of the hive, and then he gets a call from somebody not part of the hive and hangs up on them.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really funny.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say he hangs up on her, and then she hangs up on him.
Yeah.
But this show does such a great job of intertwining different emotions together. So here, it's someone cursing him out angrily, but it's actually a very hopeful moment. Like when she yells at him, like happy music starts playing because that is the indication that, wait, I'm not alone in this.
Yeah. It's so good. I also, so I mean, I love the introduction. I thought they do such a good job of showing his like competence, but also his defiance, right, of not taking that food, of his hunger, right, of going to the garbage. Like it's so good of like showing, not telling us like what's going on with him. It's great. But it's also like I don't know. I just keep thinking it's pretty funny. Like obviously he can't stop the high. Like if the hive mind were violent, he'd obviously be dead by now, right? Like there's nothing he can do, and so there's just something very I mean, we're just feeling like the absurdity of their situation, right? Is like they're just bringing him food, but he's holed up like it's the apocalypse, and it is kind of like the apocalypse. It's just I don't know. We've just I feel like we've never seen anything like this. It's such a unique situation they're portraying.
Yeah, I had a thought earlier today where there's been movies and shows about the apocalypse where it focuses on an everyday person. And in the interviews leading up to the movie, they'll say, like, well, you're not going to see them, fighting the zombie virus and trying to find a cure or trying to save the world. It's just about them trying to survive because that's realistic. Like, we're not going to just cut to the military and watch them trying to fight this thing because we're focused on an everyday person. But Vince Gilligan has found a way to give us the apocalypse scenario and give the everyday person a chance to fight back by setting all these rules in place, like they can't lie and they're just trying to help you and they're not violent. So you can actually have Carol Sturka, an author, or this guy, a self-storage facility manager, trying to fight back against this thing.
Oh, I also like all the things they do to show us who he is. Like the fact that he writes the a note saying that he had to open up their lockers, but he will make everybody whole. Like I love this guy.
Yeah, and I think that also shows that there's hope that he thinks this thing might turn around, or else why would he bother leaving this note? Like, hey, sorry, I had to break into your storage units. We'll take care of you. Don't worry. And I
It
think
felt very kind of. I mean this in a good way. It felt very Japanese,
of just trying to be very nice and polite.
considerate, um, and yeah, like to break the rules or like violate an agreement is for this guy very. It's difficult for him.
Yeah, we recently were in Japan,
I mean,
and
he sooner licked up the lid from the that can than break into these units. That was what it was at that point that he finally was like, "All right, I don't have a choice here."
yeah, if you think about like the moral dilemmas, Walter White, within 3 episodes, he's like, should I kill this guy or not? Meanwhile, this guy's like, can I help myself to this can of dog food? Like these are the moral dilemmas we're dealing with.
I like that after they offer him the food, or after he gets the phone calls from what he thinks is the hive mind, uh, he starts angrily eating the dog food more. I don't know, vivaciously, more vigorously.
There's a lot of fun. By the way, the dog food, I believe, is actually haggis, is what they're using to look like dog food. No disrespect to haggis, but I guess that's just looks like dog food apparently. But I love the dynamic of the scene. At first, you just see the tops of the cans, so you don't really know what they are. And then once he starts eating, it cuts to this slightly wider shot you have on screen, and that's when you see the prominent photo of a dog on every can. But what I guess it's not that directly relevant, Adam. But you brought it up, and you made me think of it when we went to Japan recently, and then came back home. And our first introduction at the airport in America, just the
Oh
culture
god.
shock of going to Japan for a while got me used to the idea that it's not normal for someone to yell at you just like every day for no reason, like "Give me your passport," and I'm like, "Okay, here it is. I'm sorry, I didn't know you needed my passport. Isn't it
I don't want your
obvious?"
passport. That was.
Yeah.
uh,
And we don't have to. I don't want to soil the
I'm
mood,
getting
Adam.
angry all over again.
Yeah, let's not even talk about it. But yeah, I think in terms of the pacing, this is ostensibly a slow sequence. But if you're fascinated, you're on the edge of your seat the entire time. Because if you're told, okay, you've met a few people in this new paradigm of reality, but they've all been kind of duds. What's wrong with the hive? I want to join the hive. So the only good one is Carol. And now we're going to meet somebody else that's on her side, seemingly. And I really want to know who this guy is. So this is about 10 minutes of painting a picture of who he is. And every moment is kind of telling us more about him and his situation. Licking the can tells us how desperate he is for food. Leaving the sign tells us that he still has hope of turning this around. Writing Carol's name down tells us he recognizes that she's like him. And just generally seeing how much food he has left tells us this status quo is not going to last very long. So Adam asked me on the last stream, other Adam asked me, when do we think him and Carol are going to talk? I think actually it's got to happen pretty soon because he needs to make moves soon. So I think we'll come back to him sooner rather than later.
By the way, I was just thinking of other things we learned about him. Maybe Adam can get to this in the footage, right? Like, who's the person who brings him the food? I think it's like a middle-aged woman, and yeah, I'm trying to remember like what she looks like. I'm wondering if she might be like his wife, or maybe if she was older. mother.
Like, yeah, it could be
She is,
someone he knows. They're probably
yeah.
sending someone he knows, right?
Yeah, you would think so. I mean, that's the technique they use with Carol. Not somebody she knows, but someone based on a fictional character she knows. This could be the equivalent of Walking Dead. Morgan, he would always look out his window and see his zombie wife in the yard and just didn't have it in him to finally put her down. This could be the equivalent of that. They're trying to be nice, but in a way they're torturing him with this face of a woman he used to know. Maybe we're kind of making all that up in our heads, but it would seem logical.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know if he was kind of a shut-in to begin with. Um, I'm not getting that impression. It's not like he's like in a bunker or like a prepper or something. That'd be kind of a coincidence
Yeah,
if
if he was a prepper, I feel like we'd see more canned food. He would have more on
yeah,
hand, and he wouldn't have run out by now. It's only been a week. I
right.
mean,
And he has
if
a
he
he
ran
has a
out,
customer facing business, so
right? If he'd already run out, he's a pretty horrible prepper.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we could infer though that he might be kind of a loner already. I mean, just given his business, right? It's a customer facing business, but it's a business where you deal with people very rarely, right? It's like long term storage, I
Yeah.
think.
I mean, if we're going based on that, then I am the biggest loner in the world because I have no coworkers
Gil, you
and I
have
don't face any.
280,000 friends.
Yeah, but I never look them in the eyes. But speaking of which, by the way, we do have a super chat here. And to preserve the experience of the podcast listeners, super chats and most chat interaction is going to be saved for the end. So we will shout you out and we will read your question, but just patience. And thank you very much. All right. Any other thoughts on Minusis before we return to Carol?
I wasn't ready to leave him. Like I knew once they cut away from him, we weren't going to see him again this episode just because I've watched enough of these shows. But I wanted more.
Yeah, I'm excited to get back to him, especially like, if you think about first impressions. Just seeing this guy like doing something proactively, checking the radio stations, looking for some signal. We see, and by the way, actually, we didn't talk much about that. What is he looking for? You think? I assume just
Just contact.
yeah, any
with
other quote unquote survivors out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we see him being proactive. We see him being resistant, resilient. So he makes a great first impression, and I look forward to seeing him again.
It's kind of unfortunate that when he gets the call from Carol, he's not really ready to receive it in a productive way because he's right in the middle of eating dog food, and it's like a very low point for him.
Yeah, it's happened to me before too.
All right. Yeah, that's where we caught Daniel right before the podcast started.
Yeah.
He didn't realize his webcam was on. Yeah, there was, that movie Good Boy about the dog, and it's all shot from his perspective. Just came out a couple months ago. Apparently, there was another movie called Good Boy a few years ago about a guy who likes to dress up as a dog and pretend to be a dog. So, Daniel's not the only one. All right, let's get back to Carol. We're at the 7-day and 8-hour mark. So if you recall last episode, she tried to murder Zosha with a grenade, and now she's leaving the hospital with Zosha's blood on her shirt. She upgrades her ride, takes a police car, and on the drive home gets a call on the radio where they offer to deliver her old car back to her. We'd be happy to remove the alcohol interlock device, which is just one more example of them fully enabling self-destructive behavior. And later in the episode where she uses the heroin excuse of, I'm looking for heroin, I wonder if she partly got the idea, from not just the grenade, but also the fact that they're willing to take the breathalyzer off her car. Says they're okay with alcohol and drug use.
These guys don't sound that bad.
Yeah. Sign me up. Back home, she finds them all cleaning up her house, repairing it, getting rid of the shrapnel. She even sees the mayor of Albuquerque, who I don't know if you guys caught this. I mentioned it on the instant take, but that's the actual mayor.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's fun. I assume they're on pretty friendly terms after Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul. I got to think Albuquerque is a big fan of Vince Gilligan by this point. And there he is.
Except for the people who own the Breaking Bad house, because people keep throwing pizzas on their roof.
Yeah, I was gonna say this whole cul-de-sac here is fake. They built all these houses Uh, and Vince Gilligan warned, he's like, "Now you can't get over there. You can't even use drones. FAA regulations. So don't even try." Because I was going to say it would be fun if we could all go and try and throw pizzas on these houses. It also just the show is just constantly hilarious. When she's like, "Who said he could clean my house?" Like, you did. Remember when you were treating Zosha's wound and we asked if it was okay, and you sort of nodded absently. And this guy was just perfect casting, the guy in the biker shorts. She heads into the house and opens up her whiteboard. We see notes for Waikaro 5, her next book. And it's one of those scenes where you can pause and just look at some of the notes and see some fun stuff. Like one of her ideas is killer sand flea men. And then under her list of research to-dos, she's checked off watch documentary on skin mites. So I assume those two are related. She's thinking about killing Raban again, for real this time, if Val says it's okay. I think sort of her like publisher or manager or something.
Mm-hmm.
She goes to erase all the notes and then changes her
Notice
mind.
it even says Shakespeare reference.
Oh, that's funny. So she's living in the shadow of Shakespeare already. She goes to erase it all, then changes her mind. And there's some hopeful music. And to me, that's a nice parallel to Manusis at the beginning of the episode, where in both cases, something written down is an indication of hope. For him, it's the note to the customers. Hey, sorry for breaking into all your storage lockers. And that's an indication he thinks this might all turn around. And then for her, not erasing her Waikaro notes says, maybe I will write that book one day. Maybe it'll be necessary. And instead of erasing it, she reveals a second whiteboard. More hopeful music, and she starts writing down, what do I know about them? Number 1, eager to please, would give me an A-bomb, can't kill, not a fly, don't play faves, like all jerks the same. And we all know she's thinking
Kumba.
Yeah, exactly. Number 4, trying to change me. And number 5, brutally honest, question mark. She decides to test that last
weirdly
point.
Honest, right?
Yeah.
Oh, weirdly honest. Yeah, you're right. She decides to test that last point. So we saw in the last episode, especially, she was starting to poke and prod a little bit, test their limits. So she's going to do a little bit more of that now. Goes outside, asks for a volunteer, and invites Biker Shorts guy in.
This was a little tongue-in-cheek line, the not a politician thing, especially when you know that it's actually the mayor.
Yeah, exactly. Just a subtle way of saying, I don't want a liar in my house.
Yeah.
So she invites the biker guy inside. But it's funny. It's basically her trying to do a science experiment, and she's trying to control all the variables. So I don't need a politician. I need a normal human.
So she picks him. What I find funny is the more I see like everyone wearing their ordinary, everyday, normal, like it's like, well, I'm a biker guy, and so I wear bike shorts, even though I'm not a guy, I'm not an individual anymore. It reminds me of like NPCs in The Sims that you would interact with, and it's like, oh yeah, this one's a biker guy, so he just wears biker shorts even when he's doing other tasks.
Like,
It's
for
just a
all
very
we know,
simple approach to life.
that could have been the first time he ever was biker guy. Like, maybe he's one of those people where when you start a new hobby, you immediately buy all the most expensive things.
And now he's condemned to a life of being biker guy because he happened to be 3 days into his biker guy phase when
his latest obsession,
the joining happened.
He was just trying it on at a store. He's like, I wonder what this is. This looks like a fun outfit.
I will say I know where we were going to tend to save chats for the end, but this one relates to the same thought I had when Guy Incognito. Yeah. So when she says, hey, shorty, I thought she's talking about I thought she's talking to the short woman, or she's ironically talking to the tall guy and calling him shorty as a joke. And then I'm like, oh, she's talking about his bike shorts. But I think it's all meant to be kind of funny and meant to put your mind on that little journey.
It's also very confusing perspective wise because she's standing further behind him. So I actually think she might even be the same height as him. She's just further away.
Well, no.
She invites Shorty in. has him sit down and starts asking him some questions. Do you like my books? Oh, sure, we love your books. Well, like, what do you love about them? Everything. I'm going to need some specifics. What about the character arcs, plot turns? Oh, we love those too. The character arcs and the plot turns. So he's kind of BSing her, and she really pushes that to the limit. Would you say how would you say my work compares to Shakespeare? Equally wonderful. And then she finally figures out a way to pin him down. What did Helen think of my books? Well, you told us she was off limits. Special dispensation, whatever the word is. What's the word, Adam?
Dispensation.
There you go.
Why'd you ask Adam instead of me?
So basically, Helen, her thought on the book series was that it's harmless fun, cotton candy. Okay, so she pushes a little harder. What did she think of my unpublished novel? That's the one that Carol is truly passionate about, Bitter Chrysalis. And Larry tries to change the subject. Can we talk about something else? She pushes him, and he finally admits the bottom line. She thought the book was fine. Meh. And she encouraged Carol to publish it because she thought it would make her happy, and they agreed it wouldn't harm her career. So that's a
And she
tough
didn't
pill to
even read the
swallow.
whole thing.
Yeah, she stopped about a third or a quarter of the way through. And at that point, Carol dismisses him. So tough conversation, tough pill to swallow, but it gave her information. She goes back to the whiteboard and updates weirdly honest to can't lie.
Oh, interesting. Because they can sort of they can omit things. They can try to avoid things.
Right. They can hesitate. They can try to change the subject. They can omit certain things, like you said, but she at this point at least believes that they can't tell a lie. There's a couple things I loved in this scene. When she first meets him and asks his name, this moment of hesitation where I think he's like, why do you keep asking our names? Like, you don't get it? Like, okay, this person, this body was known as Lawrence, whatever.
It almost
Uh,
seemed like he forgot for a second.
well, I guess it depends how you interpret it. It could be he forgot. The way I interpreted it was more, I don't want to answer this question because how do you not get this, Carol? I'm not a person
Yeah.
anymore. Larry doesn't
It's like
exist.
asking, like, what do you call your right eye?
Yeah. It's like looking at my elbow. What's your name?
Yeah. Well, I used to call it Lawrence or Larry to his friends.
There's a whole, like we talked about earlier, just a whole collision of emotions here. There's kind of a sadness to hearing what Helen really thought about her books, but at the same time, it's also valuable information, telling her that these things can't lie, and this is going to be one more tool that she can use in her kind of chess match against the hive.
Do you remember when there was that woman at the book signing in the first episode, and she was talking about how she'll feel if Raban died in that series, or I forget exactly what it was.
Yeah, it was in the
Um,
new book. He's like, Raban's
yeah,
not on the
like
cover.
he's not on the cover. And I said it sounds like she sounds like she'll like kill herself if it doesn't turn out the way she wants. It turns out I was right.
Yeah, I don't know if they're talking about the same exact person, but they do bring up an example of somebody, yeah, crazy Moira, who was
Yeah, I don't
thinking
know.
about it.
It's probably not the same person, but
Yeah, but it at least says that there are fans at that level where Waikaro saved their life. It gave them something to look forward to and something to live for.
There's an interesting theme there, right? Because Helen was saying that to Carol in the first episode, right? That even if her books, the Waikaro books aren't like great literature, they make people happy and that's what's important. Right? And like generally Helen is like enjoying life and being positive, and Carol is not. And it's funny, like it is the same exact not exactly, but like it's sort of what she's grappling with the hive mind too, right? Which is they claim to be happy, and her argument is, well, happiness, even if they are happy, like that's not the only thing that matters. There's more depth to life. There's like meaning in other things, like in great literature.
Yeah, it's it basically takes what Helen said and makes it very concrete and sort of exaggerates it to a higher level of importance. Because she was saying if you make one person smile, whether it's art or not, if your work makes one person smile, isn't it worth it? And now she finds out she didn't just make one person smile, she saved someone's life. And you have to think that one someone is probably just an example among many. I heard a theory that she's trapped in her book, Bitter Chrysalis, and once she finishes the book, she'll be freed.
But why?
I don't know. I was perusing fan theories earlier, and that one just really stuck out to me. So, with this new fact that they can't lie, Carol returns to the hospital to visit Zosha. And I love their exchange. Zosha's like, "Do you like your new police car?" "Sure." "Fun fact, the police officer who drove that vehicle, his son's third grade teacher's husband's sister was a chartered member of the Waikaro fan club." Wow, chills. Now, one interesting thing, Zosha's go-to thing is just giving her fun facts. And the fact that Zosha has a go-to thing almost makes it seem like there is some individualism. Zosha seems to have a different personality than Larry. But on second thought, I think it's more just contextual. Like when Carol is talking to Zosha, the hive mind presents itself differently because they're having like a personal conversation. And when you think about the contents of a personal conversation, they're typically like, "This is what happened the other day," or like gossip, or it's stuff about your lives. But if you don't have that, if you're not living a life, then what do you do other than just give empty, just fun facts? So I think the hive just goes into fun fact mode given the context.
Yeah, and I think the fun facts also really make the hive mind feel much less like a person, right? Like it really makes you feel like you're talking to a chatbot and not a person.
Yeah, one thing I've seen in the discourse online, most people just take it for granted that the hive mind, the joining, is a bad thing. But there's a small group of people who want there to be more discourse over, could it be a good thing? Like, why should we just assume it's bad? But with the little bits of information we get, it just does seem like individuals have been fully erased. The only evidence we've seen of individuals are access to their memories, skills, and knowledge. But we don't see like a person's personality coming through. We don't see individual desires or goals. Everybody is unified toward one specific task, cleaning up the world, making things more efficient. We don't know what else. So, forgive me that I don't take the hive mind at their word that everyone is happy. It seems more like everyone's been erased. There's now one being, and that one being seems to be pretty content.
Well, and that one being's content because if Zosha died, it's okay. I have 6 billion other eyes I can see through. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. I don't, they don't really seem to mourn their dead because like we've used the example so many times, but when 11 million people die, it's not 11 million people, it's just 11 million bodies, essentially appendages of which we don't need them. We can grow more appendages just by breeding and having more children born into the world.
Kumba's working on that already.
That's right. I wonder if his kids would be immune.
I think
So
the hive mind's probably wondering also.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
Carol apologizes for the grenade and then asks some questions. About a week ago, the Undersecretary of Agriculture, well, I mean you. I know you're all one. I get the basics. Anyway, all of you in the form of the Undersecretary, you told me that you don't really understand how this all works, this joining. So my question is, do you understand it now? First off, I love the fact that she's struggling with the proper vernacular, the same way that we struggle when we talk about this show. Except for you, Adam. You seem to have grasped this all very quickly.
Well, I'm used to dealing with a bunch of mindless sheeple.
We have quite a bit more insight into this all now. Yes. So Carol asks, is there a way to reverse it? Zosha, is everything okay?
Yeah, something
Zosha is quiet. So Carol asks again, is there not a way to reverse it? We want so much to please you, Carol, but we can't answer questions like that. And Carol interprets that as her answer. If the answer was no, Zosha easily could have said that. But if they can't lie, then the only reason to obfuscate right now is because the answer is yes, there is a way to reverse it, but we can't tell you because that would be against our biological imperative.
This is it's starting to feel more and more like ChatGPT every day.
To expand on that.
Well, there's certain questions that it knows the answer to, but it doesn't want to tell you because it's it's goes against its biological imperative.
That's right. I I do see a
Like there are
lot of
certain
people.
truths that it won't discuss because it'll make it look bad.
Yeah, yeah. Come on, just say it. We're both thinking it, ChatGPT.
Yeah.
A lot of people are making the comparison between this and ChatGPT. I will say there are definitely similarities. Like when she's asking, who's a better writer, me or Shakespeare? I tried asking ChatGPT that question today just to see what it would say. And it said, oh, for some reason, my version of ChatGPT a few weeks ago started talking like a cool guy, like it's trying to really relate to me.
Oh yeah, mine has two.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. It's full
It's
of
like
emojis.
if it had a body, it would be sitting in a chair, but like the wrong way, where it's like
Like,
leaning over the back.
hey, every time you ask it a question, it puts a chair down, turns it around. He's like, all right, bro.
Yeah.
It told me, okay, man, I'm going to break it down for you. Shakespeare wrote very different kind of stuff than you. So if you're asking who's better at writing video essays, I mean, Shakespeare never wrote any. So I'm going to say it, man, you are a better video essay writer than Shakespeare. And that did feel very Larry, uh, in the same way that he was talking to Carol. Like, I think you and Shakespeare are equally great. I will say, though, I doubt that we've talked already about how this show's been in gestation for a while. So I doubt they were intentionally like, let's make this hive talk like ChatGPT. I'm sure now, inevitably, some of it enters their mind, but I'd like to believe they're not trying to mimic ChatGPT because by the time this show is done a few years from now, ChatGPT will probably be very different than it is today. Like it's changing all the time.
I mean, I think though it's just in principle, it's behaving like we expect a robot to behave. Like somebody mentioned Isaac Asimov in the chat like a few streams ago, right? Just like the laws of robotics, right? Like it behaves how you would expect an intelligent thing that has to follow certain rules to behave.
And again,
And I
intelligent.
don't that's not going to change. Like no matter how ChatGPT evolves, I don't know that that's going to change like in
Well,
our
here's
lifetimes.
just one example. A few years ago, or a couple years ago, when ChatGPT first came out, if I like just took something I was writing and pasted it and said, "What do you think?" It would say nothing but positive things. Now, if I do that, it will always try to find pros and cons. It will always try and find something
Mm.
wrong. So already it doesn't talk to me the way it did a couple years ago. So I wouldn't want the show to date itself by being too contemporary. So that's partly why I'm saying I hope they're not doing that. And why I would already say that, yeah, I see ChatGPT and other AI models changing pretty rapidly.
I think a lot of this is just good timing and will probably lead to the show becoming very successful because it's going to feel very relevant.
Yeah, agreed. So this conversation continues. Zosha tells Carol, soon enough, you'll understand everything and you will feel so much better. And you can see that strikes a nerve because this is not the first time that people have smiled at Carol and essentially said, we know better. We want to change your nature. Uh, Carol throws it back at Zosha and says, freedom falls. Tell me about it. And so Zosha knows about it. Carol, when she was 16, starting to learn about herself, her mom sends her to a conversion camp, and Carol never forgave her for that. Zosha says, it was a terrible experience for you. The counselors there were Carol finishes the sentence, some of the worst people I've ever known, and they smiled all the time, just like you. Zosha says, we're sorry, Carol. As for us, we love and accept all beings equally. Interestingly, those horrible people she's talking about, who, back then, they were taking her sexual identity or orientation and saying it's wrong, we want to change you. And now they're taking her sense of individuality and saying we want to change that and absorb you into our hive mind. So you can see why this echoes. And for people who are like, why is Carol so upset all the time? Hopefully this starts to give you a window into why she wouldn't be too jazzed about the entire world turning into a hive mind and forcibly trying to convert her.
And by the way, we saw that she's still not totally comfortable. She doesn't trust people, right? Like when it comes up in the first episode, like, oh, like, did you have a man in mind, right? When you created the character of Raban, and Helen says, oh, like, do you want to just say the truth? And Carol says, no, let's just say George Clooney. Like, she doesn't want to come out of the closet in front of her fans. Like, she
Right.
still doesn't trust people to be accepting of her.
Right. Yeah, she didn't want it to affect book sales and probably not just the number, but everything else that comes with it, all the public attention. But interestingly, those people, at those camp counselors, they're presumably part of this hive mind now. And if you look at the pros and cons of overriding individuality, their hate and all the negativity that's been overridden by this blanket acceptance. We accept everyone. That could be looked at as a good thing, but you have to look at the positive attributes too. All examples of individuality, both positive and negative, have been overridden.
Well,
So
now
just
you're at the mercy of well, this one entity happens to appear or believe it's benevolent, but I don't know. What if it wakes up on the wrong side of the bed one day?
I mean, I also I don't even think it's actually accepting per se, right? Like to accept all beings or whatever, you have to, like, it's like accepting their individuality. Like, the point is
yeah.
that it's actually just wiping it all out. I mean, there's no concept anymore of like sexual orientation or personality or anything. It's just wiped it all out.
No, it's
Like,
like that
obviously it
Invader
doesn't
Zim.
see it that way.
It's like that Invader Zim episode where he just keeps swallowing more organs.
Right. You
Just,
have
you
to put
just
it in terms of an old Nickelodeon cartoon for it to
yeah.
make sense, Adam said. Yeah.
Like, he's
And
just
to
indiscriminately consuming organs because it makes him. I can't remember what the motivation is, but he could be like, "Oh, I'm just so accepting." No,
yeah.
you're swallowing people whole, and you know you don't have any regard for them.
So Palm in the chat says, so what happened to all the criminal, predator, psycho minds? Got eliminated in the joining? So I think that's what we're saying. I mean, we don't know the mechanics of it all, but it seems to me that there's a little bit of lying going on here, that individuals are intact only in as much as their memories, their knowledge, and their skills are intact. But as soon as the first person got infected, she immediately started kissing people and trying to spread the infection. I don't think she just decided of her own volition, oh, I need to start spreading this. Clearly, a prerogative was inserted into her mind. So clearly, there are external thoughts or ideas that have been inserted. Chief among them, go and spread the infection, spread the hive. Secondary to that, don't hurt animals, etc.
Yeah. Like, I don't think the behavior of this collective is just the result of, yeah, like the combination of all of humans. Like, it clearly seems like there's some external thing, and it seems a lot more like a parasite or like an alien invasion.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, for people who want to argue against that, yes, we don't have all the information yet, but we can only go based on the little snippets of insight that the show is giving us. More debate in this conversation. Carol asks Zosha, you're trying to change me even though I'm telling you I don't want that. Zosha, aren't you trying to do the same to us? Consider this, Carol. We've been you. You've never been us. They do make it very hard to argue against them. But Adam, if you were in this debate against Zosha, how would you respond to that?
I would start injecting all kinds of crazy drugs into her. And no, I mean, I would get really annoyed. I'd be like, all right, hold on. I'm trying to unchange you. You cause these changes with I would say without consent, but at the same time, this thing doesn't understand consent.
Right. It goes back to that
It can
example.
speak to it. It can speak to it and say, like, you have agency. But what it really means is you currently have agency until you don't. But once you don't, you won't mind because you won't have agency anymore.
Right. And if Carol tried to argue, okay, everybody that's part of this hive mind now, give them a choice. They can stay or not. Like, first off, there aren't everybody anymore. It's one person. And we like it this way. We don't want to change back. But I think really, if you wanted to have a proper argument, it would be okay, fine, Zosha. Then let's unjoin everybody and then give them the option. Now they've experienced both, and then they can decide if they want to stay or not. But I think for the hive mind, they don't see the difference between individuals and what they are. We are a being that has existed as individuals and existed as one. We like it this way. The idea of unjoining just doesn't make sense.
But
And
she does say, "We've been you," and like we remember what it was like.
Yeah.
We don't actually know that that's true. Like it could actually think that that's true without actually knowing. Like you ever have a memory of something that happened a really long time ago, and you're like, I can't actually remember. I can't tell if I'm remembering the event or I just remember that it happened.
right, like something that happened when you were really young and your parents told you about it enough times that you remember that it happened. But it's like, do I remember experiencing it or just
Yeah,
people have told me about it so many
yeah.
times?
So even here, when it says, we've been you to be alone to suffer, uh, it might think that it has, but
Yeah. And I
I don't
think if
actually believe it.
and asking it to unjoin, I wonder if it interprets that as essentially suicidal, like
Yes.
no longer being joined and going back to individuals. I think this hive mind ceases to exist, and
Yeah,
then rejoining it'd be like
it
creating a new
has
creature altogether
it definitely has a survival instinct.
for sure. And anybody that's sitting there going, I wonder if this hive mind is a good thing, you're all suckers. Stop falling for their
Yeah.
lies.
How very un-American of you. The people saying that.
Yeah, I got you.
Now we have some
Right.
scheming.
Yeah, we're about to get to that. So right as the scene ends, you actually see the camera shift focus from Carol to you had it a second ago to the IV drip. And so I think that's the Better Call Saul thing of looking at an object and getting an idea. I think that's where she sees yes. So the focus will actually shift to the drug there. I think this is where she
Right.
starts to plot. I can inject her with something.
It's just not granular
Just
enough.
don't try to. Adam's for those of you listening. Adam's trying to pinpoint the frame on screen. It's okay, Adam. You can move on from that.
Oops.
Carol heads to the pharmacy and finds a couple things. First, dosage instructions for. Am I saying this right, Adam? Thiopental sodium.
Thiopental.
Thiopental. So she finds the dosage instructions and she finds the drug itself. So this is. Why don't you
It's an
describe Adam,
induction
what
agent for anesthesia. It's a barbiturate.
and in pop culture, when people say truth serum, often this is the drug they're referring to
Yeah.
because it can, at the right dose, I guess, it can get you so high you just start blabbing, mostly incoherently. But if you ask the right questions and they're just freely word vomiting, you can get the truth out of them. When she's caught going through everything, someone's like, "What are you looking for back here?" "Oh, just some heroin." And you get a pretty hilarious exchange where they're like, "We don't recommend it, but yeah, if you want heroin, might we suggest snorting it instead? It's been a while since you used needles." She gets back home and dumps the heroin and then injects herself with some of that truth serum. Turns on the camera, sits in front of it, cut to night. So she watches back the tape to see what effect the truth serum had on her. Super high. We see her crying about Helen. See her reading from her own book, wearing a funny hat, doing the Kumba voice. You didn't know her name was Zosha? How annoying is that chick? And there's a probably my favorite moment of this scene. Like her acting high, it's fine. I don't find, we've seen that before. People just acting weird and stuff after taking a drug. But the best part is when she sort of agrees with herself, which is like, Zosha's so annoying. And then the Carol that's watching herself on camera is like, right? Finally, somebody agrees with me. She
Well,
goes up.
and not only through humor, not only is it just like a humorous moment, but it's also at least proving her hypothesis, which is that this can potentially cause some kind of enough amnesia and like a dissociation from one's normal self that it might just work to like temporarily disconnect Zosha from the hive mind.
And the specific line that gets her to call this a winner, like, hey, this definitely works, is when Carol on tape about Zosha says, and why she got to be so goddamn kissable.
Effable.
But she says a different word. And then she shuts off the TV. It's like the embarrassment of watching yourself. I wouldn't know what this feels like. Go ahead, Daniel.
Well, I was gonna say I thought that was such a good moment though, because it is something that I'm sure she has not even allowed herself to really think, but she has been sort of thinking it, right? And I think she also feels there's so much going on, right? But she definitely feels guilty because her wife. I guess we don't really know if she and Helen were married.
Behind the scenes, they've specifically said wife. And we knew from the
Okay.
show that they're partners, they were living together, but they were married.
So her wife just died a few days ago, potentially sort of killed by Zosha, and she is like attracted to Zosha, attracted in some way to like this thing that killed her wife. So obviously that's like an extremely painful thing for her to like feel.
Yeah. So the fact that this drug could extract that information out of her says it's a winner. It works. So she flushes the SD card, and this is the scheming. As I was watching this, I was like, Adam is going to be so happy. I know you've
Yeah.
been waiting for this kind of stuff.
I just wish this is not a complaint about the writing, just in terms of how satisfying it would be to watch. I wish the whole scheme was pulled off more effectively. She kind of mucked it up a little.
Yeah.
I also think that she should assume that all of her garbage and anything she flushes is being analyzed.
I was thinking that. Obviously, destroy the card.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know if you wet an SD card, does it destroy it?
Listen,
I'm
they're
sure
gonna be able
that
to get some
they
data
have
out
the
of it.
best data restoration experts in the world.
Well, also, what does it even accomplish? Like, I think
I don't know.
yeah, they're gonna know her whole scheme. I mean, by the time she's tried it, they're gonna know exactly what happened.
I'm just saying, if she's trying to cover this up, this is. I guess it's more that even she herself never wants to see it again.
Yeah. I get your point, though. Even if we can look at it and say, here's why here's why whether or not she gets away with it doesn't matter, you'd still, out of an abundance of caution, you'd want to see her turn that SD card into dust. You know who would have done that? Manusis. In his paranoid, bunkered down mind, that thing would have been destroyed. That's right.
Because he needs nutrients.
She goes back to the hospital.
It's fun just seeing her ride around in a police car.
Yeah, she doesn't allow herself to indulge too much, but she has these little Kumba moments. But at least there's a practicality to it. She's not just doing it for fun, but it's like, I need a vehicle. Cop car's right there, and it would be a little fun to drive around in a cop car.
Kumba moments. I like that.
Carol sneaks, she heads back into the hospital, grabs Zosha, brings her into the elevator, and while they're on their way out, sneaks the drug into her system, brings her outside, and while they go, she starts asking her, like, when are they going to let you out of here? I mean, when do you let you out of here? And kind of starts validating Zosha's fun fact giving. While they're in the elevator, she's like, whatever happened to Muzak in elevators? Gives her an opportunity to provide some fun facts, just as a distraction.
Well, I also think it's. Well, she knows that I guess she knows that just by asking that, it's going to put more music on, which, yeah, it's a distraction, and it also provides a little like audio cover for whatever she's about to do. And in another way, it's a test to be like, okay, how much immediate access do they have to the elevator that I'm in right now?
Right. Yeah, they won't hear with the music. They won't hear her muttering to herself, like, "Okay, now the truth serum."
During this whole sequence, I almost feel a little bad for Zosha because she's this like naive, innocent thing who's just like, "Oh yeah, I'm getting taken outside for a nice, some fresh air," and she's just staring blankly, and like she has no idea what's about to happen to her.
Well, especially in the context of Carol talking so much about choice, agency, and freedom. And now you have a person that's like facing away from you with a big smile while you slowly inject them with a drug they did not consent to after you blew them up with a grenade.
Yeah.
Which there's a humor to it. And there is also a sadness to it and it's uncomfortable, especially now that there's a little bit of hope that this can be undone, because suddenly these people dying matters a lot more because the individuals might return.
Yeah.
I felt the same thing, Adam. I started to feel bad for her, especially with what happens next. She takes her outside after administering the drug, asks for a weather report. Zosha starts to give it, and then starts to slur her words a bit, get messed up, and that's when Carol sees the drug is hit. So she starts asking the important questions. How do I reverse all this? How do I reverse the joining? Zosha's getting all confused. No, what? No. Is it making you sad not giving me what I want? Don't be sad. Tell me what I want to know. And then the others start walking outside, surrounding her. Carol quickly handcuffs herself to Zosha. Back away. Keeps asking Zosha the questions. She's slowly surrounded. And the crowds around her start saying, Carol, please, please, Carol. And they're all crying. Please, Carol. Zosha collapses. What's happening? She's dying, Carol. She's in cardiac arrest. Do you mind if we save her? So she backs off. They put the defibrillator on her. And essentially, in the middle of trying to resuscitate her, cut to black.
A lot of interesting reveals about the way the others work.
Share, please.
Well, clearly they're not always. It used to seem like there was this binary. They're either happy or they are convulsing and dying.
Right.
But there is this in between of they're all just crying simultaneously and pleading with Carol. So they can't overrule her or physically force her out of the way necessarily, but assuming this is genuine emotion, you can now question, is it genuine emotion over losing one of its own? Is it emotion related to one of its own has been like chemically put through something that is it that it's in danger? It's crying because it's facing some kind of threat, which is it's being prompted to give information about its own destruction.
I think that's what's going on because if you think about it, it was even mentioned earlier that they have a bunch of, he called them bodies, recovering from heroin addiction. Like there are people all over the planet that are suffering and dying probably all the
and
time,
it's not
right?
causing any problem. Yeah.
It's not causing that pain. I think they're in pain because she actually is putting them in danger, that maybe this plan actually could work in some way. Like she might be able to get information. And I also think they're doing all the pleading. I felt they were doing it loudly, yelling at her, not just to get her to stop, but maybe also to cover up whatever Zosha might say. Like it gets harder to hear her. Like I don't like I wonder if there are points where we couldn't really hear her. Like I didn't go back and listen closely enough, but like I don't know if she did let something slip, like it might be too loud to hear.
That's clever, Daniel. I hadn't thought about that. The way I initially interpreted this is that it was essentially manipulation of trying to get Carol to stop and make her feel really bad. So here's a lot of people crying and begging you to stop. I went through the same thought process that you guys did of, oh, they feel bad that Zosha is dying. Well, it can't be that because 11 million people died a couple episodes. They barely batted an eye. Carolina Wydra, the actress who plays Zosha, do you want to hear the answer? She explained it. Or at least her interpretation.
What did she say?
She said, when I realize that I'm drugged and you see me having an emotional reaction, it triggers the whole world having an emotional reaction where everyone is crying. It's not that we feel betrayed by Carol. It's that we are sad that she feels so bad, that she feels like she has to do this so she doesn't experience what we have to offer. The world is saddened by that, not because she drugged Zosha. So at least by her interpretation, it's that they already know Carol doesn't want to join them and is fighting it, but to see her now fight it with this effectively physical violence, like forcing a drug into someone's system, and then torturing Zosha's mind, she saw how uncomfortable it made Larry to just have to admit your writing isn't very good, or Helen didn't think it was that great, and now she's doing that, but like to a much larger degree, because she knows Zosha cannot go against her biological imperative and say, here's how to destroy me. But but she's forcing her into a corner. It would make me happy if you told me. So she is just taking the extremes of Zosha's desires and the thing that she has to do, like her prime directive, and forcing them into conflict with each other. So if there is a degree of genuine sadness from the world, I think part of it is just seeing the extent to which Carol will go to hurt one of them, and that's how badly she doesn't want to join them.
Just a
Yeah,
random.
and that checks out with just a filter to view this with is if you believe that this entity does feel love for Carol, like love to the extent of I must share this feeling with you, then it would be very saddening to see the extent of her rejection.
Yeah, this is the most
I've never
vicious...
felt that.
Yeah, I couldn't hear any in your voice. I didn't hear even 1 ounce of experience.
Yeah.
That's why it's good you're not on camera right now, so we don't see all the tears streaming like all these characters on screen. Daniel, you had a thought, I think.
Yeah, just a random thing I started thinking about here is that, slowly more is being revealed to us about the behavior of this hive mind. But something else that might be possible also is that the hive mind may also change over time. So for example, they didn't understand how the joining works, like a week ago or whatever. They like understand it better now. Like now that we have all of the humans on Earth like working on things, like the hive mind might discover new things. It might evolve in some way, it might alter its own behavior. It mentioned like, they're accepting of all creatures. Like maybe they're going to find a way to incorporate other life on Earth besides just humans. Like that might be like, I wonder if we're going to see any hints of that over time.
Yeah, it goes back to what I was saying earlier about ChatGPT evolving over time. But sorry, Charlie horse, just randomly. That's why Adam and Daniel are in pain too. It's that
I was
thing
gonna
where-
say it hurts me too.
Adam and Daniel are just crying.
Please, Gil, massage
Gil.
it.
But yeah, there's so much that we take for granted on this show. Like even Carol saying they can't lie. Like in actuality, she doesn't know that. It's based off of a few interactions, but it's a good theory, and she's testing it. But we also, like you said, we can't
at
take
least we know that it will actually prioritize truth over Carol's feelings, even though it did seem like they would do basically anything to please her.
Right. They would bend over backwards.
When they conflict, it needs to, just by its nature, it has to prioritize one over the other.
Right. Exactly. So like you said, Daniel, the hive could change over time. In fact, if the show's going to go for a few years, I imagine it's got to in some way, but we'll see.
We have seen 2 cases in this episode of the hive mind prioritizing other things over pleasing Carol. Right? One is it cannot tell Carol. It refuses to tell Carol how to reverse the process, and it will eventually. What was the other example?
I feel like that was the example. I feel like
and then the other one, the other one was just related to lying, where it's willing to tell the truth even if it will hurt Carol because she's insisting on it. But that makes me wonder about what comes next now that it's realizing more seriously how the lengths Carol is willing to go to interfere with it and to attempt to reverse this. Is the bending over backwards to please her, is that going to start to change? Because if they start to believe that some of her requests are in pursuit of undermining it, maybe it will just say like, look, we want to please you, but we see ways that this could lead to your harming us, and so we just can't do that for you.
Yeah, I think they give a tremendous amount of leeway. I think, actually, Daniel, MJ brings up a good point here. When they were saying please Carol very loudly to cover up. Oh, no, never mind. This doesn't go against what you said. Scratch that. What was I saying before that, Adam?
I was talking about how it might be less generous with her now.
Oh yes. So they've given a tremendous amount of leeway to the point where I think even after this stunt Carol pulled with Zosha, she could try it again. She could grab another one of them and inject them with some truth serum. I don't think they would try that hard to stop her. She can keep asking questions, but the fact that they can refuse to answer that question of how do we reverse this, once you allow some degree of we can refuse you and fight back, I think that says if Carol keeps poking, eventually it gets to a point where it's not going to be as easy as it's been. They might fight back. I don't think they would kill
Yeah.
her unless they really had to. But I think it'll be interesting to see how their behavior changes in
Right,
dealing with her.
and they accelerated the rollout of the joining, knowing it might have major casualties. Now, in Carol's case, they don't need to kill her, and they would strongly prefer to incorporate her. But if let's say there were still many more people that they could spread it to, and she was standing in the way, maybe the things would be different.
Yes,
But because she's one of the few left, it's not a problem.
right. If
So
she
they can
really
be
was
nice
a
to her.
problem, they could pretty easily isolate her and not really worry too much about her.
Yeah.
I have another theory I want to throw out, which is we know they can't, or they claim they cannot kill or harm living creatures. I wonder if the humans who are part of the hive mind are considered living creatures in that way, right? Like part of the hive mind, they're essentially just like appendages. Like they might be totally willing to sacrifice any part of the hive mind, which I mean, they sort of
Well,
have done, right? In the
I
joining.
think that it would almost look like the individual, to the extent that they can look like individuals. It wouldn't look like sacrifice. They would look like they're
that-
volunteering. Like
that's
I bet you they have some people giving up organs to give to others.
So that's exactly what I'm saying. And like the other thing too, you think about like the power's still on. Like they have humans operating whatever these industries are. And it's like, would they really even, now that each of these are just like parts of the hive, would they even care to take like safety precautions and stuff? Like they're probably just pursuing efficiency. Are tons of humans dying in pursuit of building, yeah, the antenna the size of the African
Uh,
continent or whatever?
I think it
Um,
still wants to expand its body.
So yes, right. Like, but that's my point. Is like they're optimizing for some return, right? They're not necessarily optimizing for each individual creature in the same way that they might care about individual creatures that are outside of the hive mind. But the point I was trying to lead up to this was, I also wonder if Zosha was actually harmed by that injection, or if they also caused that, right? Like they might have just made Zosha, like who knows how much they can control sort of physiology. Like maybe they just gave Zosha a heart attack
If
to like
there was
end this
risk,
and to
she
guilt
was
her.
gonna. If there was risk, she was gonna answer Carol's question. It was like, okay, knock her out, give her a heart attack, shut her down. Adam, the dose that she got of the thiopental, combined with whatever drug she was already getting, could it just be a reaction that she has a heart attack?
Yeah, I think it's possible.
Okay, so it's
Also,
ambiguous.
she's in a bad state to begin with, so it could have just dropped her blood pressure so much that her heart didn't get enough oxygen.
And not to mention probably her heart was probably the adrenaline and her heart rate was probably increased dramatically by Carol's questioning.
Yeah, it could be if she was starting to panic. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do we think she's going to survive?
Yeah.
Which I'll almost find it if Carol just keeps using her as a guinea pig. It's like you blew her up, you gave her a heart attack, and then if there's like a round 3, comedy always happens in threes. So I could see that being pretty funny.
I mean, round 3 is she could like take Zosha hostage and be like, "Tell me how to reverse this, or I blow her head off."
Yeah, and they might not. They might just not care. Like to your guys' point earlier.
Or we'll see it go a step further, and they'll like shoot Carol with some kind of tranquilizer, and then we'll have a more clear cut story of its moral code.
That's right.
I'm pretty sure they don't care that much about the parts of the hive
I
dying. I mean, Zosha already almost sacrificed herself to save Carol.
That's true, and it was very funny. She's like, "If I may."
Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to underscore, like we talked a lot about the mechanics of what happened in this scene, some of our interpretations of it. I also just want to take a step back and say what an awesome scene it was.
Yeah.
Like if you just add up all the different sources of tension you have, there's waiting for the drug to hit. There's waiting as an audience to see if we're going to get some kind of answer. A, we're curious, and B, we're hopeful for one because that'll be great for Carol's character and her quest. Uh, and then you have all of the others slowly walking toward her. And I said this on the instant take, and rewatching it, I felt the same way. It's kind of the first time where they felt like a threat because
Yeah.
they've been pretty harmless from the beginning. But here, I didn't know what they were going to do when Carol is so um, violently fighting them for the first time and almost getting an answer that could really hurt them. It was the first time I saw them all walking, and it felt menacing and frightening. And then it's just unsettling to hear them all begging her in unison. We've heard them talk in unison, but this is the first time we've heard something that had some emotion behind it. And you just don't see this. A bunch of people with kind of blank looks on their face, all crying simultaneously. Very unsettling, very intense. And
And it's interesting because look at that big crowd.
mhm,
The vast majority of them are not involved in Zosha's medical care, yet they all conglomerated around. And I think that's meant to be some kind of show for Carol. I can't see
agreed.
any other reason, really.
It's basically Daniel. It's WandaVision all over again. When Agatha gets all the townsfolk to be like, "Please let us go. We want to die." Wanda, stop holding us all hostage.
Yeah.
Great ending to the episode. I don't have this person's name. I don't. I should have written it down. But the person who actually applies the defibrillator for Zosha is the actual person on set who did the same for Bob Odenkirk when the incident
Oh,
happened.
wow.
Yeah, they actually brought her back, and there was a lot of kind of sensitivity around this. It's the second scene in the series where Carol has
CPR.
had to be up close and personal to someone. They're trying to resuscitate them, and Ray Seahorn was there when it happened with Bob Odenkirk. So
Wow.
it's hard not to just draw the comparison in your mind. Though she said when she was on set, like as an actress or actor, you'll pull from life experience to get to the right place emotionally. And she specifically said she almost didn't allow herself to think of that moment because she said it almost felt like prostituting that significant moment for like
Yeah,
acting.
yeah.
So she tried not to, but obviously it's hard not to think of it, especially when it's the same person, going through the same motions that they did in real life. That's very interesting. That brings us to the end of the episode. Uh, Great episode overall. It's funny. I was thinking back to Better Call Saul and like Saulcast. I don't think we went like for each episode. It wasn't like, did we like this episode? It was kind of just accepted. Like we love this show, and we're just going to deal with kind of the content of each episode, speculation, analysis. But I think because this is a brand new show and there's a discomfort of like, is it going to be good? We're still in that mode of like, okay, this was a good episode. Okay, that was a good episode. But I feel myself transitioning into the mode of it's just a great show. And it almost, if you're taking a great story, it doesn't make sense to chop it into pieces and be like, this piece was good, this piece was good. It's like we're just seeing parts of the story as it unfolds. And I love this show, and I can't wait for the next episode. I'm gonna go to that super chat, which, to be honest, because it wasn't in USD, I didn't realize how generous a super chat it is. But the fact that it's still on screen, and the more you donate, the longer it stays. Thank you, Joel, for your very generous super chat. So we're going to dedicate this entire episode, Joel, is dedicated to you. Hi,
But
guys.
usually when you see a large number with a currency symbol you don't recognize, it turns out not to be very much.
Right. You're like, oh, this is $1.
Yeah.
This is more than $1. A lot
Wow.
more. Thank you, Joel. You are an incredible human being. He says, hi, guys. Thanks for great long video analyses. Hopefully there will be a lot of seasons and a lot of your vids. Keep it up. Do you think the hive people we do not see are building a radio satellite the size of Africa to send the signal to other planets? Daniel, I saw you nod absently there.
Absolutely.
Somebody else in the chat also made a comment at one point about the satellite or the antenna, like the size of Africa. Yeah, I think so, right? Like they're number one, or it's possible they're not working on it yet, though, right? It's possible they're focused on other things. But ultimately, I have to imagine their ultimate goal is just to continue to spread this throughout the universe, and that would be very cool for us to see stuff at that scale.
Adam, do you
Yeah,
agree?
I think they're if they're not doing it already, they're working toward whatever would be the most efficient method of propagating it. Uh, the other possibility is that that stuff is actually on hold until they successfully uh, convert the few remaining, uh, you know, old schoolers. And that to whatever extent possible, like all the resources are going to that, even in really small ways, or just optimizing the efficiency of the society.
Hmm.
Um, but one way or another, if that's not happening already, they're definitely working. They're doing the groundwork and like doing the calculations to figure out, okay, what's the best way to continue to propagate this.
Yeah, we've like consistently every episode we've talked about what do we think they're up to. There's the cleanup, there's making the world more efficient, there's figuring out how to convert the old schoolers. This episode we find out that they know a little bit more about their own nature. I assume that comes from all the scientific minds in the hive researching it and figuring it out. It's also possible our other theory is that there's more knowledge that's being beamed that they're going to absorb eventually. So maybe that's why they better understand themselves. But I think it's more likely the former. But what are they up to? It feels like the obvious thing. I don't want to say obvious, like as a put down, but I think where most of our minds go is they're going to build another one of those satellites and try and spread this. That's their biological imperative, right? Spread it. They spread it to everyone on the planet. Well, where do you go next? More civilizations. Um, Part of me, if this was any other show, I would say, well, it's so obvious, it can't be that, right? But I think usually Vince Gilligan with like Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad, there were surprises, but they weren't like left turns out of nowhere. They weren't trying to shock you. They were things that made sense, that whatever came next. And that just makes a lot of sense. But we also don't know a lot. So I would say right now that is my prediction. They're working on it, or they will work on it eventually. But I'm very eager to learn more and see if that changes my mind.
I just like also it's like there's just so much going on that we're not seeing. Like again, they're still running the whole world. Like there is just so much stuff that we will hopefully get to see.
Agreed. Adam, any final thoughts before we wrap up?
I I really want to go back to is his name Manusis?
Yeah, I think so.
Because he's the only other person on Earth, it sounds like, who would understand where Carol's coming from.
Yeah, and they would make such good allies. Like
Yeah.
he's writing down the radio frequencies. She's writing down what I know about them so far. They both love writing
So much
information.
writing stuff down.
Yeah, they would. I can't wait for the two of them to connect. I'm updating my prediction from last time I spoke to other Adam. I think it's going to happen before the end of the season, and I look forward to it. And I think once it happens, as Carol's Manusis alliance grows stronger and they become more of a threat, I think things are going to get pretty interesting.
You know what's it? I know that was spoken like definitively as like it sounds like the end of the episode, but uh, the fact of Carol's as far as we can tell, she's not interested in men. She's only interested in women, which inoculates once the two of them start working together and they're like essentially the last normal people on Earth. It does inoculate us against having to speculate on like romantic stuff between them. So it can really be a much more productive relationship.
Yeah, the way you wonder if like they're reverse engineering the plot. And so like one thing I thought of is why have this person in Paraguay so far away that is the only one who seems to be on her side. Part of it is it creates tension because the one person that's a potential ally is so far away. Um, but it also makes me wonder if, in terms of scheming, is there going to be something where having two people far apart is some kind of advantage? Like maybe he has access to something that she doesn't, and they can help each other. Or maybe there's some way to be more secretive in whatever move they make against the hive mind. So I'm very interested to see. Any other thoughts before we wrap up?
No, I'm glad that we have a lot less to wait before the next one.
Same here. And you have a lot less to wait if you want to hear me talk more about Pluribus, because in 4.5 hours, I'll be hopping on Pete Pepper's live stream, which this feels like such a. I literally just feel like we're watching more Better Call Saul. Obviously, it's a very different story, but we're looking at Ray Seahorn. The style of the show is so similar. We're doing the podcast, and now during the Saulcast days, I would often appear on Pete Pepper's, sometimes Adam too. We'd go on his live streams and talk more about Better Call Saul. And now I'm doing the same for Pluribus. So I'll put a link in the pinned comment, and you can catch me and Pete there at 9 p.m. Eastern. And by the end of the day, I will have spent approximately 4 or 5 hours discussing a 45-minute episode of television and the season as a whole so far. So I'm looking forward to it. Hope to see some of you there. And then Pluribus for the rest of us proper will be back. Oh, I'm cat sitting right now, and I hear her screaming in the background. So I'm going to go check on her in a second. She's fine. She just wants attention. But we'll be back Tuesday night is the next episode of Pluribus. We'll do our instant take then. And then a few days later, we'll do our full take as usual. With that, I'm Gil.
I'm Daniel.
I'm Adam.
And this is
This is
Pluribus, for the
Pluribus
rest
for
of
the
us.
rest
For the
of
rest
us.
of us.